Welcome to Gale Force Conversations with members of Music NL. In today's episode, we chat with Rube Rake, a St. John's-based duo of Josh Sandu and Andrew Laite. Their latest album begins with an ode to family and friends and togetherness. Sandu and Laite have always maximized the duo configuration, even singing together at a single condenser microphone, allowing for space and patience within the songs. The first album ends up being the greatest hits of what you've done so far, says Laite. With record number 2, you just want it to be in the ring with the first one, only bigger and stronger. The collection of 10 songs in their latest album, Leaving With Nothing, fits comfortably in the folk tradition of road-worn tales and lost love laments told across an ever-changing, often lonely landscape. Rube Rake is for late-night wind-downs, long drives, a walk by the water, solitary and steadfast, honest and true. Thanks for joining us.
There we go.
Yeah, well, what another great opportunity is here in the beautiful Solanche restaurant, downtown St. John's, Newfoundland. Harbor behind us, couldn't be any better than talking to musicians. And I got to tell you, it's great for Music Newfoundland and Labrador to get GaleForceWins in this conversation. And boy, are these guys exciting. Guys, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thanks so much. I'm Andrew Laite.
And I'm Josh Sandu.
Right on. Boys, tell us a little bit about growing up. Let's go.
Well, I'm from here in St. John's. I was born at the St. Clair's Hospital, just right in behind us here. Been looking out through the Narrows here my whole life, hanging out. I'm a downtownie. I'm as downtownie as you get. Been submersed in the music scene from hanging out on my dad's shoulders, going to shows when I was a kid.
So where'd you grow up specifically in St. John's? Whereabouts?
Craig Miller Avenue, representing Craig Miller Avenue. I grew up in a little townhouse that all those houses were built by the government at the time to house everybody who was working for the Newfoundland Railway.
Okay, right on.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd you go to school?
St. Mary's Elementary School, right in the valley. I'm a valley kid.
Yeah.
And then I guess my junior high school and my high school are now condos.
Right on. Now, yeah. Josh, how about you? Sandu is not an East Coast name.
No, Sandu is usually people think I'm Indian, but I grew up in Prince George, British Columbia. It's in the interior of BC, kind of right in the center. To a Romanian father. So my mom's from Canada, and my father's Romanian. So that's where the name Sandu comes from, which I think informed a lot of my personality. I have to say, it's strange.
The more you got to dive into that a little bit, man. You can't leave
the all open-ended.
Maybe I went too far. I don't know. I just yeah, well, you brought up the name Sandu, and I had a Romanian father, and when I talk about all the idiosyncrasies that I have now, or things that like maybe form me as a songwriter, is just the tension, the confrontation, just the difference, kind of always kind of having one foot in kind of the modern kind of North American world, and kind of one foot in kind of an old-fashioned kind of Romanian upbringing, and so I feel like maybe that schism is kind of it formed an interesting upbringing.
Right on. So I'm going to stay with you for one moment. What was it like growing up in Prince George?
It was great. Well, it smells like sulfur. If you're from Newfoundland, if you know Cornerbrook, then you know what it's like.
So.
But
I worked in the newspaper business for 30 years.
Okay.
So I'm very familiar with the
You're familiar with the pulp mill smell. Yeah. Prince George, I love it. A lot of people talk it down, but if you like being outdoors and stuff like that, it's a beautiful town. But it's a bit of a rougher town, But it's a good spot.
And a lot of good music comes from Prince George and goes in Prince George. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So tell me about that. Like, what's the music scene like there?
I couldn't tell you too much about what the music scene's like now, because when I left Prince George, I was maybe 25, and it was a very DIY scene. So like I grew up playing in punk bands and stuff like that, and we would just we didn't go to bars or like music venues and play shows. We'd rent out like an art space and put on our own show. formed a good, like, kind of hardworking spirit, I suppose. But I can't speak to what the music scene's like right now. But there are a lot of great writers out there, and I think it's a unique experience living up there. Just in, I think everyone who's from Prince George has maybe a chip on the shoulders because they get passed by, like quite
underdog attitude type of thing.
Yeah, the underdog attitude. Like everyone, when they think of BC, they think of Vancouver and Victoria and all the lower mainland, and it's you kind of feel like you're passed over, and it's very isolating too. So I think isolation's a really good element or ingredient into songwriting.
So isolation, underdog attitude. I've heard those things used for Newfoundland many times.
Well, no doubt about it. I mean, everybody knows that in our small little core in our St. John's music scene or the Newfoundland music scene that there's a lot of output, but we're still at the edge of the world, so in terms of being an underdog and trying to export your music outward, I mean, even Josh and I, what we try to do is leave physically. Not so great at the internet world yet, we're still working on that part, but Josh and I are trying to be road worn and leave. And I mean, how much harder could it get in Canada than living in St. John's trying to tour Canada? It's the farthest away you can get to any major centres, really, isn't it?
Right, 100%.
Yeah.
So, Andrew, let's stay with you for a second there. Music, a big part of your life growing up. What were the big motivators for you musically?
Grandfather, for sure. My grandfather, Rube Rake, was in the beer industry. Worked for Newfoundland Brewery, and then when they amalgamated with a couple other small breweries, and then eventually became Molson, he was he was in the entertainment industry, but also anywhere he'd go sell beer, he'd always have a guitar on his back. Big entertainer, worked a lot with the boat tours and Bay Bulls, and anyway, everybody knew Rudy because he was coming with the beer, he was coming with the fun, but he always brought his guitar, and then that kind of trickles down into that side, my father's side of the family. They're big music listeners, and which informed a lot of my taste. Before I even started picking up instruments at all, I was accidentally listening to the coolest music ever, and the music I still listen to. I mean, Jim Croce, it was James Taylor, Allman Brothers Band, some Southern rock stuff, a lot of songwriter stuff, Gordon Lightfoot, all the best stuff. Wow. And there's some stuff that still influences me right now. Yeah. Anyway, I got really lucky, and then on my mom's side, she was playing piano and fiddle when she was 3 years old. So I got lucky, no doubt. My older brother's also a really great songwriter.
Wow. Josh, how about music for you?
Music for me, I kind of came into it as a teenager. My grandmother was always playing. She played every instrument, it seemed, and my auntie. And I remember watching my aunt. She would always be singing a song, playing the guitar, and I remember being mesmerized. And an older cousin, so it helped me get into it. But I feel like it kind of came a bit later for me, just like being a teenager and really wanting. I remember I was in band class in high school, and I was playing clarinet, and this girl was playing bass, and I fell in love with the bass. I remember coming home, and my dad, I was like, "Dad, I want to get a bass guitar." I was like, "You can't play the bass guitar." He's like, "That's for people who can't play guitar."
Your father, did he play?
No, my father tries to play sometimes. My father cannot play, not at all. And that shows what he knows about music, because the longer I play, I have a lot of reverence and respect for a bass. A good bass player is the most important piece of a band, and so he couldn't be more wrong. Guitar players are a dime a dozen. A good bass player is very rare.
Yeah. True enough.
But no, I don't think it was like, I definitely had family members who played that helped bring me into it, but I think it was like that teenager thing that brings a lot of people into music, and just listen to a lot of punk rock and stuff like that.
Hey, tell me about the punk rock.
Well, just like I don't know. That's you kind of listen to what your friends listen to, and I had a lot of friends listen to bands on Epitaph Records, listen to like NoFX and Bad Religion and stuff like that, and it's really what motivated me. That's what really got me into music, and slowly kind of those tastes erode and change. Not that I don't like a lot of the music still, but there's more of a nostalgia aspect to it. I don't listen to much loud music anymore. Usually, I think there was a good 5-year period where if it had drums, it was too much noise for me. I'm a very low key person. I'm overstimulated very easy. So I don't know. It just what I listened to as a kid, and it's definitely changed.
It's funny, I listen to a lot of loud music, and my 14-year-old turns it down, and I said, "This is role reversal. What the heck's going on here?"
No doubt about it. But you'll see a lot of punk rock, and how that interestingly enough kind of evolves into a lot of punk rock musicians kind of turn bluegrass, and it's kind of that's just something that you see a lot. That totally, and just like even just Scruggs style banjo, for example, is something that sometimes there's some overlap with punk rock into bluegrass, and it's not that we play bluegrass, but we're influenced by and love it. But anyway, instrumentation, you will see. I have noticed, anyways, and friends of mine that started listening to punk rock music often then moved into acoustic, kind of fast acoustic tempo music, similar to bluegrass.
So were you formally educated in music? Did you study music, take lessons, any of that?
I was in university doing some music, but that kind of, I not really. I still can't sit down to a piano and read notation or anything like that. It's kind of alternative approach, kind of very listening to a song 100 times until I could get it type of thing. So it definitely ear trained, still that way. But yeah, totally. I definitely wouldn't want anybody to pass me a score. That's for sure.
All right.
Yeah, I have no formal training in music, and it's still something I'm still insecure about, but I've managed to get by. But none.
So now, what made you put your finger on Newfoundland and say, I want to go from the middle of BC to the edge of the world?
I used to be in a group with my ex-partner. We had a duo, and she played cello, and we've been on tour before, and we've been in Newfoundland. We loved it, and she got into Memorial to play cello.
Okay.
And I just finished my degree at UNBC in history and political science, so I had nothing to do really. So I came out, moved with her, and things ran their course, and we split up. But she moved back to BC, and I stayed here. I felt like I'd found home.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Tell me about that experience for you, finding home in Newfoundland.
Finding home?
Not the breakup. We don't want to get into that.
I always got a breakup story. That's
You probably wrote a song about it.
well, there was a few, but I try not to have too many breakup songs. That's an overdone song. Anyways, I don't know. It was just a natural thing. When we had broken up, I'd just been accepted to do the education program in Newfoundland, and I figured a lot of it was ego. I figured if I moved back after breaking up, and I felt like I would be kind of putting my tail between my legs, and so it was more out of stubbornness that I decided to stay and just finish off that year. And it was hard at first because I'm a very private, shy person, and it was really hard for me, not knowing anyone in town for a year. But you kind of open yourself up, and life happens, and a little bit at a time, I started to just slowly plant more roots, and then it got to the point where, this is my home now. Just that slow evolution. That's how it happened.
Right. So, how did you guys come? How did this collision happen?
Yeah, I mean, it totally happened. It was a total fluke. Total fluke. I was playing in a couple of bands in town. Josh was doing his songwriter thing, and we kind of came across each other. Saw Josh play a show one night at a local bar by himself, and he had a banjo in his hand, and he played a Hank Snow song that my grandfather used to sing, and it's like, oh man, like that. Who's this guy? Type of thing. It was that easy for me. At that point, I wasn't playing guitar. I was playing bass at the time, and I didn't even own a acoustic guitar. But when I met Josh, it was...
You weren't playing a guitar then, according to his father, right?
Well, totally, exactly. It was playing the easy guitar. Anyway, I'm a much better guitar player than I am a bass player at this point, no doubt. But anyway, we kind of came across each other naturally, started to get to talking, and I mean, Josh had a bunch of songs written that I really liked, and I have a kind of a natural penchant for harmony. Started to sing with Josh. Our first couple shows, I would just sit next to Josh and sing harmony on the choruses, and all of a sudden I figured that maybe the next thing to do was to get a guitar because it could complement what was happening. Then I pretty much learned how to play guitar around Josh's songs, to be honest.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you go up the night you saw him playing the banjo? Did you go up and talk to him that night, or
I don't.
wait?
No, it didn't. That didn't happen that way.
Yeah.
No, because what am I going to say to this cool guy playing banjo? I mean, I'm not this guy. I was playing rock and roll in a couple bands in town, and so it kind of happened slowly. The music scene here is pretty small, guys. So you're going to cross paths again. There's only a couple venues that allow bands with no clout to play those clubs. So my band was playing that same club. That So it kind of happened in that really natural, organic St. John's way. No doubt about it. Yeah.
That's a cool way, though, eh? That organic St. John's way. So tell me about the first time you played together.
Jeez, yeah, it was that house show.
House show at Joanna Barker had a house show with
Zachary Lucky.
Zach Lucky and the May Hemingways.
Yeah, and I mean a couple great Canadian bands right there. Zachary Lucky, great country songwriter, and the May Hemingways are some of the most hardworking Canadian touring acoustic bands.
Here in St. John's?
It was here in St. John's. They were both traveling through. Yeah. Joanna Barker is a really important person in the last 15, 20 years in this music scene. Had listened to Josh sing and wanted him in on the show, and I wasn't even involved in the show. Josh asked me to come and sing a couple songs, and we kind of sat around in that very house concert intimate setting. Worked out great, and we kind of flew from there, didn't we?
Yeah. What kind of preparation? It seems like this kind of happened. So, like, were you guys 2 weeks preparing, or?
Well, I don't think.
I think it was just general jams over.
Yeah.
I don't remember the specifics, but I think every once in a while we just try and organize jams, and for a long time it was loosely just that we'd play shows together once in a blue moon when someone would ask us, and that was probably that way for a good 3 years.
Okay.
And I think 3 or 4 years after is when we finally got a bit more serious and put a record out.
Totally. We totally didn't jump right in, you know. I mean, we were kind of both leading separate lives, doing our own thing, and I mean, I think most people's stories in music and bands starts as a passion and a hobby until it isn't.
Yeah.
Until it is.
Right? So then you start to realize what it is.
Then you're going to get the HST number.
We're still out there yet. We still got a Moonlight doing other stuff.
Yeah, no doubt.
The HST number.
Yeah. So I mean, now we're at a place where we've decided that this is what we do. And that was a difficult place to arrive, and it wasn't that long before the pandemic that we decided that, and then the pandemic hit. So then we kind of looked at each other and said, okay, what kind of decision did we just make, you know?
Right.
Because I think a lot of people are in our shoes there, you know, the beginning of the pandemic, early 2020, you're thinking to yourself, okay, is this actually an industry?
Right.
You know, so the biggest question mark of our lives, really. Then, so getting through the last little while was definitely the hardest part of the journey, no doubt. But now we're on the other side.
Tell me about your creative process. Like, how do you guys write together? How's that work?
It's ever changing.
Yeah.
It's ever changing. It's song by song, really. I mean, like I said, when I first met Josh, he had a collection of songs that were really nice, well-written songs. So I knew that I was really lucky, you know.
Yeah.
And then so. It happens. Every song there's a different process. You know, Josh is kind of the chief songwriter. I like to structure and help. But yeah, and then when we get into the studio, we produce together, which is a whole other conversation. So it is definitely song by song basis, no question.
You guys squirrel away, go somewhere without any interruption.
Yeah, it's funny. But lately, I think I have undiagnosed ADD because I'll go. Like, I think I went the whole period of the pandemic without writing. I mean, like, not the whole period, but a whole year when the pandemic started without even writing a song. I don't think I picked up guitar for 6 months. And a large part of that for me is being in the home environment is really difficult. Like, if my partner's around, I just gravitate towards her, or I'll just pull out my iPad, or there's a million things that I get distracted by. I need to really be separated from everything so I can focus, because I have no attention span at all.
Right.
I'm a puppy dog in that way, or a goldfish, I don't know. But I think we had a lot more productivity last summer. We did a residency out in Brigus. So or on the last record, I think we got a lot done when Andrew's got a cabin or a little house like an hour and a half outside of town, and we would go spend a few days up there every week and stuff like that. So I think learning to recognize your triggers or your habits is one of the most important things for songwriting. Like, for me, I know, like, lyrically, I can be inside all day and trying to write, but it's not until I'll go for a walk, and I think, speaking to my ADD, the fact that I can't pull out random things, my mind will just it'll go inside my own brain, you know, and I'll start focusing, and then I'll start writing. And, you know, normally I carry like a little notebook with a pen, and then, you know, just start plotting ideas down.
Mm-hmm.
But just having little environmental factors like that, I think, is one of the most important things for writing. Because I don't know if there's much of a process. It's more of that that nurture? Like, what kind of environment can you put yourself
And
into?
and to speak to that, I think we're constantly getting better at crafting a calendar. Because when it comes, you can't ignore it. You got to take it in, but also make sure you're preparing your life to get ready for something like that. We learned a lot last year with Genoa. Paired up with Music NL and picked an artist in residence to do this Kent Cottage session in Brigus, and they picked us to do it. So then we had 14 days uninterrupted, in this beautiful old, previously barn turned house on this beautiful 11-acre plot in Brigus on a cliff, completely uninterrupted, and we had a really good session. And then we realized, and you're always continuing to form ways and to put yourself in a situation to be creative, so we learned a lot from that. And then we're moving into that again. I've got the place in the bay again, not much interruptions going to happen there, so you can really open up your mind. And through that, we start to realize that what we need is to make sure that we're giving each other opportunities to be creative and have nothing else happening in that time.
I don't get the Genoa connection. Genoa is a ship design company that is an expert in digital twinning.
Yeah, so I mean,
I
from far as I know, they sponsored this music in residence with Music Newfoundland, so they helped fund it. Right. So then we have since met a couple people in Genoa, amazing people who are really, they facilitated that for us. Of course, with Music NL's guidance,
Well, it's interesting. The founder of the company, Leonard Pecor,
yep.
is now on the board of Music NL.
Exactly, and we know Leonard. We know Leonard as well. Yeah.
Got to meet him this weekend at
ECMAs.
ECMAs.
Yeah.
He's a fellow open-back banjo player, and they're very rare in this part of the world. Like in Newfoundland, everyone plays either bluegrass style or four-string like tenor banjo. And it was great meeting Leonard. We talked banjo for a good few hours.
It's funny, he posted on LinkedIn this very lengthy post, talked about his experience at ECMAs, and I made a comment. It doesn't surprise me with the gentleman that he is and what he's done, created. Music NL is in great hands, having him on the board, and it's great, Alan, to hear that Genoa has sponsored something. 14 days.
Yeah.
That was quite the experience. There's no doubt about it. We feel really grateful still, a year later, that they did that for us. Big time. I mean, the songs that we wrote there will be on our upcoming record. At least some of them. But even just finding another way to write, we discovered quite a bit in those 14 days. There's no doubt about it.
The creativity in Newfoundland is impressive, whether it's in the music industry, culinary field, whether it's in technology, ship design. The creativity in this place is, I think it's something really special. The people seem to be all very open to celebrating each other's success. They understand that a rising tide floats all boats, and the fact that Genoa got engaged with you to do that, I think that's just a beautiful story.
Couldn't agree more. And the thing is, with creativity in this small little place, how many people are being so creative is that it's contagious.
Right.
And the competition is I don't think it's the word. It's so healthy. Everybody helping each other here. And I can speak to the music scene here. Everybody wants everybody to succeed. Nobody wants to be better than the other. It's all about fostering success together. And I'm so grateful for that.
I want to be better than everyone.
Competitive streak.
That's okay too.
You need to have a chip on your shoulder, I think, if you want to. I mean, in a very positive way.
Yeah.
Like, I do support everyone, but whenever someone does something that's better than you, you always want people to raise the bar for you. You need internal competition.
So, guys, what's the name of the band?
Rube and Rake. I always say that slow because it can be mispronounced or misinterpreted.
Sure. So explain it to me. Where did that come from?
Rube and Rake. Other ways to say Rube and Rake would be yin and yang, would be Jekyll and Hyde. It's two contrasting ways to describe somebody.
And do you guys feel that you're a contrast from one another?
Yeah.
The name wasn't meant to be kind of purposed that way, but we are very different people.
Yeah, no doubt.
Explain that to me.
Are the differences in us?
Yeah.
Well, if you knew us for a while, like Andrew's just a lot more extroverted and easygoing, and I'm just a very quiet, shy person. Like our mannerisms are very different in
No
how
doubt.
we conduct ourselves.
We fell into this name. We were just at first it just sounded cool, you
Right.
know, and it was a good. We thought it was a good name that we liked the alliteration. It sounded cool, but we totally fell into it. Not saying that one is the other.
Right.
That's not the point.
Right.
Which is a very often asked question, frequently asked question that we often make up the answer to. But yeah, totally. We are different, and we work.
So, well, you are different, right? But many times when people are different and opposite, when they come together, great things happen, right? Great things happen when that little interaction plays out.
Well, I mean, just to reinforce that, our skill sets are so incredibly different, Josh and I. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, Josh can write a really well crafted song, and I've spent my whole adult life in music trying to be the best, most versatile accompanying musician that I can be, whether it be playing on it or harmonizing. You know, so it's where we approach music differently, and that works for our band, no
So who
doubt.
takes the lead on stage? Is it kind of back and forth, or
Well, Josh is a storyteller, you know.
quiet guy takes the lead on stage?
It's great. It works really great when people come to talk to us after the
You
show.
wouldn't know it from the performances because usually I'm much more animated for that. I don't know. It kind of I'm dumbfounded by it because sometimes when you're up on stage in front of a bunch of people and just knowing my personality, I don't understand how it happens the way it happens. Because as soon as we get off the stage, I'm usually back. Like I feel personally like I'm so self-conscious of how I come across to most people, especially in a small city like St. John's. I worry that people think I'm a big jerk because the most you usually get out of me is like a nod, and I continue on my way. I usually don't like to stop and chats and whatnot. So it is kind of confusing as to how it works that way, but it does.
But a nod or a wink in Newfoundland can often say an awful lot.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Tell me, guys, it sounds great. It sounds wonderful, and you can feel the connection here. I mean, it's genuine. You guys enjoy being in each other's company. You can feel that. What's over the horizon? What are you looking at?
More songs, more records, and more touring. You know, now that we're seeing the other side of COVID and things are starting to open up, Josh and I we're constantly wanting to leave and to bring our songs physically to people, big time. We want to tour as much as we possibly can. We want to go anywhere people want us, and we want to record records in between that, you know, and live a happy St. John's life. Try to spend some time here in the summertime because that's you know, the winters are tough, so that's when we want to be on the road somewhere else. Just continue to get better, write better songs, produce better records, big time.
What's touring look like for you? What do you got an eye on? Where would you like to make the big impact?
Well, we're in St. John's, so you can squint your eyes through the narrows and see the other side on a clear day. So we want to get overseas. We want to. I mean, like I said, anyway, if there's a market for us, we'll meet you there, big time. But we want to get overseas. We want to flick down through the States. We want to hit festival circuits. You know, those are the two obvious ones to us: south or east.
Yeah.
Yeah. But right now, all of our touring has been in Canada. So you know, Josh is from BC. We want to get back over there. We want to hit the West Coast. And everywhere in between. I mean, we've got a pretty extensive tour happening in the end of 2022 that'll see us go to a few different provinces, and we're hoping that what happened just recently at the ECMAs will make people maybe pay a little bit more, or get an opportunity to hear our band name and pay a little bit more attention, and let's go to wherever people want us.
Tell us about that, because I hear you won an award, did you not?
We did, yeah, and you know, we're so grateful for it, and like I just said, what we want out of that is as many ears on our music as possible. So if you put us in that category amongst some really amazing songwriters, because we won
was it?
2022 Songwriter of the Year, we just took home, and we're proud. There's no doubt about it. And because the song is what we got, you know, and we don't we don't mask it. We're pretty minimalist in our approach to music. It's pretty it's sitting right there in the palm of your hand. So the Songwriter Award is really, really crucial, really important to us. And again, what we want out of it is the recognition and the vanity. That's all okay. But again, we're pretty insular with that. But we want to get out there and we want to share it.
I mean, Songwriter of the Year from the eastern coast of this country is a big deal. There's a lot of storytellers around here.
Yeah, no, that's you couldn't honor us in a higher way, really, because that's the most important part to us. And I personally feel like I am a very subpar or below average musician. So I feel like that's the only thing that I got, and so to be recognized for that feels good.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. What did it feel like winning it?
Super surprising. We're sitting at the awards, and a bunch of really amazing people going up to collect their award. And Josh and I are just, we're there to experience it. Just grateful to be in the conversation. We win it at the award ceremony, and didn't have anything prepared, and no kind of speech or anything like that. And just kind of, the feeling is wow. Really, like wow, that's what the jury thought, and we're confident in what we do for sure, but we don't anticipate or assume recognition, So when we got it, we didn't necessarily think it was going to go down like that, but we just kind of said, wow, okay, let's find the stage.
I have kind of mixed feelings personally about getting something like that, because I mentioned it earlier, I like having a chip on your shoulder. Like I personally feel like we've been ignored a lot over our career, and when something like that happens, you can't say you've been ignored, and kind of like I just feel like there's a mindset that you kind of need sometimes, and it's not like you shouldn't be angry or anything like that, but sometimes you need to, like, you feel like you need to always prove someone wrong, or you need to have some motivation, and when you get accepted, it's kind of like, it's almost like they're robbing that from you, So
why did you give us that?
That's hilarious.
No, but
I get it.
Yeah, there's a bit of truth to that. So it's bitter. I mean, obviously, like Andrew said, there's some really good company that we're being put with, and that's extremely flattering, and it gives you that validation at times to maybe, because sometimes you definitely doubt yourself at times. There's no, like, and anyone who says otherwise is full of it, personally. But it's you still, even though we got this, I feel like I gotta keep telling myself how awful I really am. I'm not just trying to be modest, because I got a lot of holes in my game personally, and you only kind of get to where you get through help or learning to work with others.
Your song
talked about the clash of Eastern European and coming out, man.
There was a certain neurotic kind of nature that I was raised with, where I think if my father had a skill, it was he knew how to cut you down, or cut anyone down,
or put you in your place.
Put me in my place. Well, I remember being in bands when I was younger, and once in a while my dad would come out and he would like talk to everyone in the band. Justin, it was great. Naomi, it was great. And he'd go, Zhush, you suck.
That's his way of motivating you.
Yeah, it worked.
It worked.
Yeah. But even still, I remember he came over this summer and he said, "Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't really care for your music."
That's great, really.
But
great.
when he gives you a compliment, you can really you can take it. You know he means it. But that definitely had an effect on me. My father's attitude, he was just so negative about everything. But and I find that actually it's messed me up, because I'll be like, I find, like, even with my partner, I can't discuss the bad things about something without her perceiving it as being negative.
Yeah.
And that drives me crazy. It's like, I'm not negative. I'm not upset about this. I'm just pointing out, a spade's a spade, and just.
If it makes you feel any better, my mom just passed away recently, but she was very similar.
Yeah.
Master at exactly what your dad did.
Yeah.
Well, you got to burst through all that.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's why I feel like I got more into songwriting.
Gary, your thoughts?
Well, you two obviously have something special. There's nothing better than sitting with two gentlemen that have created a body of work. You're creating something. Alan and I know something about that, not in the music realm, but certainly in the podcast world. It's just a pleasure to be around you two. Congratulations on your most recent win, and thanks for sitting with us and sharing your story.
It's an absolute pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Well, what a wonderful conversation with two very genuine fellas that are really making some good things happen. Obviously, to be awarded as the East Coast Music Awards Songwriter of the Year. As I said, I can't begin to describe. I mean, there's a lot of good storytellers in these parts of the world, and for you guys to come out on the top of that, that really says something. That really validates a lot of the things that you've been doing. You should be very proud. I'm sure the people around you are very proud of what you're doing, and thank you very much for taking a little bit of time out of your schedule and explain your process and who you are to a broader audience. I can tell you this, man, the world needs more Rube and Rake.
Thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure.
Springtime, my drum sea will lay, and I'll cast on my boots of heavy lead. Somewhere, there's a place to lay my head. Oh, lover, will this burden be unshared? There has to be a place to lay my head. Ain't no need to heed the moaning call. The income of a lover broke my fall. Though she's quick to always go and make my bed, there still ain't no place to lay my head. Somewhere there's a place to lay my head. Oh, lover, will this burden be unshared? There has to be a place to lay my head.